Hey, it's a special edition of PFTPM, and it's extra special, extra primo good, because we got Chris Simms for this one. We just finished the Joint Megapix podcast, and while we were taping it, Mike McDaniel fired by the Miami Dolphins. We haven't had a chance to really talk about it. We mentioned it in passing during the Picks podcast. We knew this was a possibility because of the GM change, and it's inherently dysfunctional to hire a new GM and keep the coach because the new GM is going to want to hire his own coach. So it's always been kind of percolating, but in recent days, it felt like McDaniel was pretty confident that he was going to survive this. Right. He said he was involved in the GM interviews. Apparently that didn't go well.
No, I'm a little surprised. I am. Usually, Thursday after a Sunday game, you start to feel like, okay, they're staying with him, right? This many days go by, and then the decision's made. And like you said, we saw Mike McDaniel go up there, and he talked about nobody said anything to me. I think I'm going to be a part of the GM search. I wonder what changed, or if this was the plan altogether. Did something happen when they met and they disagreed on, the direction of the franchise? I don't know. But Mike McDaniel's going to be in demand in some capacity, probably a little bit as a head coach, and definitely as an OC, that's for sure. And you know my thoughts on Mike McDaniel, all right? In a lot of ways, I don't think he should have been fired. I've been saying that for quite some time here. The whole NFL was obsessed with Mike McDaniel. For 3 years, they were the most fun watching football because of his offense. Everybody stole his plays and his ideas. He was on the cutting edge. With a quarterback that can't throw the ball past 15 yards and can't run and scramble or do anything of that too. And then with a GM who, they fired, who didn't set up the team. And as you've heard me say, was obsessed with stars, bad contracts, bad trades, not the best draft picks in the world and all that. And I don't think that should have fell on Mike McDaniel. But either way, it did. I'm sorry to see it happen, but I don't think he'll be out of work for too long here.
There will already be speculation that the Dolphins were one of the teams that had reached out to John Harbaugh despite not having a vacancy. Barry Jackson of the Miami Herald reported on Wednesday that the Dolphins weren't one of those teams. Doesn't mean they won't reach out now. Remember, it was Stephen Ross, the owner of the team, who was courting Jim Harbaugh in 2011.
Yeah.
While they still were employing Tony Sparano as the head coach. What a mess that was. But we'll see where they go from here. The issues in Miami have been there since Ross became the owner. He doesn't live in Miami. There's that dysfunction that percolates, the infighting between the GM and the head coach and whoever's in charge of football administration. That's been a very common trait, and that's why it's good they're going in with a clean slate. Let the GM hire a coach that the GM is comfortable with, and let's move forward and try to turn this team around and build the kind of roster that can win on the road in November and December, that can play in the elements. And the quarterback position is going to be the key because they clearly are going to move on from Tua Tagovailoa. $99 million in cap charges, $54 million due to him next year. I think they'd like to see what Quinn Ewers can do. Now, the new coach may not be a believer in Quinn Ewers, and that may be a factor. They may be looking for somebody who loves him some Quinn Ewers because you get a seventh-round rookie from 2025, cheap contract, balances out the Tua Tagovailoa financial consequences. But unless they can get somebody cheap, look, it's going to be hard to fill out that position. What are they going to do? There's a lot of issues. There's a lot of holes on that roster. And I agree with you. I think Mike McDaniel did a lot with a little. And I do think the one key moment where it changed, and this was, I think, an underrated rule change. And I remember we started writing about it at PFT, and people were like, that doesn't change anything. Remember they took away the cheat motion? Yeah. They took away that ability for the receiver to start that half second early. They started calling that very tight, and you don't even see it anymore. But the Dolphins were the masters of that, and a few other teams were doing it too. The Rams, 49ers, I think, picked up on it to a certain extent.
Ben Johnson and the Bears,
That changes the offense when you take away that little split-second head start that they engineered. But that was a Mike McDaniel creation.
Yeah.
And when the offense is working well, it's like the Harlem Globetrotters. The ball's flipping around, and they're doing this, and it's misdirection. But, hey, it didn't work ultimately in Miami, and now they move forward. I think we got to watch who they hire at GM, and then we'll see who the GM hires as the head coach. And maybe John Harbaugh will be in play. Who knows? But now we have 8 vacancies. 25% of the league is going to turn over, and there still could be more.
Yeah, it's amazing. We know how the business is, but like you just explained there, McDaniels is cutting edge. I mean, cutting edge. And, yeah, they've all stolen that. And late motions where it's late in the count and, boom, it's a real fast, quick motion at the very end where, you see the great offensive coordinators copying that as well. He's a trendsetter. And then, like I said, too, he did this with a quarterback who is famous for throwing the ball short because he can't throw the ball deep, can't throw the ball in elements, and doesn't want to hold the ball in the pocket because he has concussion issues and he's not willing to stand there and take hits like most other quarterbacks. So I just go, wow, right? And I sit here with the Dolphins in a broader picture and just go, they let go of Brian Flores, where if it weren't for a pending lawsuit with the NFL, everybody would be wanting Brian Flores as their head coach right now. And things didn't go that bad. And then Mike McDaniel, again, they went to the playoffs one year without Tua. They got there another year with Tua, and it didn't go good, of course. They almost got there last year. This is the first year it kind of all fell apart to a degree. And, again, I don't look at it as a Mike McDaniel issue. We saw the team continue to fight and play hard at the end of the season. So, yeah, I feel for him there. But, yeah, I think that whether it's a head coach or some team that's looking to jumpstart their offense, they're going to get Mike McDaniel. And I do think he's a guy that deserves a second chance and will eventually get a second chance at being a head coach somewhere down the road.
Well, the Cleveland Plain Dealer has already reported that Mike McDaniel will be a candidate for the opening in Cleveland. And there had been some steam before the end of the season that if McDaniel ends up being out in Miami, the Browns could be a destination. We know what he can do offensively, and it becomes, I think, a very compelling story if he does end up as a coordinator somewhere else. Look at the defensive coaches out there. What could they benefit from? Hey, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just fired their offensive coordinator, Josh Grizzard. There may be other potential connections. Wouldn't it be funny if Brian Flores gets a head coaching job and hires McDaniel to run the offense, the two most recent Miami Dolphins head coaches together somewhere? But it just, with each one of these moves, the potential ramifications just go farther and farther and farther, and it's just more to clean up. And it still may not be done yet. I still think there's a chance we could see changes after the wild card round of the playoffs. The Steelers, if they lose, Mike Tomlin may decide to walk away. The Bills or the Packers could make a change. Who knows what's going to happen with John Harbaugh? A week ago, all we knew was the Raiders and the Browns are going to change coaches. Beyond that, well, maybe here, maybe there, maybe here, maybe there. And now here we are. 8 teams, and 8 vacancies and maybe more. But Mike McDaniel in play, possibly to land on his feet, if not as a head coach, most likely as an offensive coordinator. Again, these moves are surprising, but they're not. It's still surprising when it happens, and you feel bad for the coach and the staff and the families, but that 25% turnover pretty much every year, it's one of the risks you take when you're an NFL head coach, Chris.
Yeah, I don't think any of them are shocking, like you said, right? It's not shocking. Anybody that's watched us talk or been paying attention to PFT or Chris Simms Unbuttoned over the last 4 months, I think you would have heard these conversations. We would have warned you. I don't think any of these are totally shocking, right? But we did get to a point with a few of them where you're like, "Well, is it actually going to happen?" And this being one of them, Thursday after the Sunday Week 18 game, you think you'd be out of the woods by that point, but obviously not. And man, life in the NFL, it ain't easy. It's a "what have you done for me lately" type of business.
I think back to Sunday night, the ones we addressed on Football Night in America. We said Carroll and Stefanski out. Aaron Glenn and Zach Taylor saved by their buyouts. Mike McDaniel, Raheem Morris possibly hinging on front office decisions made there. And obviously we didn't know that the decision was already made from a global perspective to blow up everything in Atlanta. The only guy that I think we mentioned that ended up being safe is Todd Bowles. Gannon out. LaFleur is another one that we didn't mention then, but is on the radar screen. And then Harbaugh, one or the other, the loser of the game. That added to the drama on Sunday night because the loser of that game ended up being out. So it's 8, and it's counting, and we'll keep track of it here. PFTPM. You can hear more on Chris Simms Unbuttoned, ProFootballTalk.com. I have a feeling there's going to be more craziness before it all starts to resolve. Chris, thank you. thank you for your guest appearance on PFTPM. Thanks to all of you for some of your time. We'll talk to you real soon. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.